Three simple ways to improve your business for maximum growth. So last year, me and my wife, we were blessed to buy a house and it was amazing. It was a great experience. And I, tend to tell people, um, depending on who you are, houses here in South Florida, they can be a little pricey, right? Like South Florida, out of all the markets, including obviously New York, California, you know, South Florida is probably top two, maybe top three in terms of just like the costs, right? It's very expensive, and a lot of people have been honestly like forced to move out. A lot of my friends, I've seen them just kind of like slowly start to move to lesser places in terms of cost, right? Just in terms of cost, they move to lesser, pricier places, if you will. And like I said, me and my wife, we were definitely blessed last year to buy a home. And when we bought this home, it looked good, right? It looked good on the inside, looked good on the outside. But there are always some things, right? If you're a homeowner, if you watch HGTV, which my wife, she definitely loves that show. You always know that there's always a project right around the corner that you can work on. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself like always working on your house, right? Even new construction homes, they say that you still want to have someone inspect the home because there's still things that even the builders, they probably messed up or just simply forgot. So we started going through that process of, just updating our home, making some improvements here and there. And honestly, we're still in that process. We're still in that mode. I mean, to be honest, it's been less than a year. It's been more so like 6, 7 months since we, purchased our house, and it looks good. But again, there's always a project for us to do. And when we got here, we started to, me and my wife, we sat down, we started to just simply list what are the things that we want to work on our house with, right? How much money do we want to dedicate to, let's say, the kitchen, the bathroom, to painting, and all these other things, right? But then also looking at, well, what are the must-haves, right? What are the things that we need to work on day one, if you will? And as I was doing this, I started to realize this is a lot like managing and improving a business, to be honest. And that's when it hit me that when I was approaching my house, it's the same way that I actually approached my business. And that led me to creating this podcast episode, because the way that you improve your business, don't be surprised, but it's the same way that you will improve a house if you're a homeowner or if you're a potential homeowner. So with that being said, let's get into this episode. So point number one, and I think a lot of people miss this, all right? A lot of people, and I give you some examples. A lot of new entrepreneurs, they miss this piece. But when you focus on improving your business, the first thing you need to focus on is the things that don't work, all right? The things that don't work. And I say this because whenever I'm talking to someone about their business and they're saying, hey, I had this idea and I want to start, the first thing they come to me and they're talking about is their logo, their brand colors, getting their website up. And I'm like, those things aren't as important as you would think. I mean, I've been running my business, the Players Coach, which is my therapy business, right? I do my therapy and my coaching from that business. I've been doing this since 2019, and to this day, I do not have a logo. Believe it or not, I just put something together that was available on one of these free websites that I used to build my original website, and I just kept that logo. And to this day, I don't have one, and people still pick me to be their therapist, to be their coach, right? But a lot of people, they get hung up on that, thinking that starting a business is all about starting a logo or having a logo, and that's like being the birth of the business. That's where all businesses should start. And that is totally false. That's the wrong way to go about it. So again, let me get into this point. So I want you to start focusing on the things that do not work in your business. This could be your messaging. This could be your audience. This could even literally be the buttons on your page. Whatever it is that isn't working, we want to work on those things first. Because here's the thing, and this is what my coach tells me. He says, Philip, if 1,000 people were to come to you and say, hey, we have our credit cards ready and we want to buy your service, right? We want to buy your product. Does the thing work, right? Are they able to exchange money for the thing, right? If they can't, then that's a problem. We need to focus on that before we focus on anything else, like a logo, if you will, right? And sometimes even focusing on that before you even focus on a name, right? Sometimes people are just hung up on, well, I got to figure out my name first. No, figure out what is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to solve? What are the problems that you want to help people to overcome, right? Once you have those things, I need you to focus on what are the things that are currently not working in my business. And there's a lot of other things. I just gave some examples, but if there's something that is just simply out of date, it's not working, those are the things that you need to first focus on. And for me and my wife, honestly, a lot of things in the house, like it did work, but there were some things like the outlets that didn't work. There were some lights that didn't work. There were some like minor things that just weren't working at all that we honestly needed to work. We had to get a new sink, right? Like the sink wasn't working, so we had to obviously fix that. All of those things were the first things that we focused on before we focused on anything else. And it's the same thing for you. So just like when you go into a doctor's office and they start to give you a diagnosis, they start to write down all the symptoms that you have. I need you to do the same thing with your business. What are the symptoms that your business have? Are you lacking leads? Are you not getting the conversion rates that you're looking for? Are you finding that it's hard to get people to pay for your high ticket items? Do you not like the current clients that you're getting? And I was in that spot before, and as a result, I had to change my messaging, right? What is it that right now just simply isn't working? Start there. All right, point number 2 that I want to make here is that I want you to start focusing on things that would make your business easier to manage or a bit more comfortable for you or even your customers, okay? So now that we have the thing working, right? People can now walk up to you, give you a credit card and say, hey, I want this thing, and you can give it to them, right? So we got that piece. Now it's the managing of that relationship. It's that customer's journey that we now want to focus on. And we want to ask ourselves, how do I make this as smooth as possible for them? Something that I'm working on within my membership, and it's a small task, but it's an important one. When someone enters into my membership, what does that confirmation page look like? Is there a video of me telling them exactly what they need to do and where to do it? Is the email saying the same thing that I'm sending them 3 minutes after they've purchased? And when they get inside the membership, right? When they get inside the club, when they finally have their hands on the product that they paid for, is it laid out plainly for them to show them where they need to go next and telling them the benefits of being in this membership, right? Those are some of the things that I do to make the process so smooth for the people that are entering into my world. Now, again, you can also focus on how do I make things easier, more comfortable for me as the business owner. Well, you can do that by now starting to, outsource some of the daily tasks that you may do. And this may be some of the mundane tasks, right? So putting the captions on your YouTube videos, putting the captions or the little transitions and all the fancy, flashy things like on your podcast, like things like that. Let's do that so that now we can buy back some of our time, right? Also, I love in this step the idea of now buying and adding new software to make our lives easier. Those $45 a month for that software that you're thinking about buying or whatever the cost it may be, we want to look at the benefits of having it. We want to see and ask ourselves, what is the investment that I'd be getting back by now putting money into this, this software that I'm buying, right? We all live in a bottom line business, right? More profit or more income than expenses equals profit, right? That's the lifeline, for the business. And we want to make sure that we're focusing on these things, all right? So make sure that you're outsourcing things. Make sure that you're, essentially buying the software that you need. Even hiring employees, right? If you're building a business and it's growing and it's big, this is where you want to ask, what are those employees that if I were to hire, it'll help to increase my bottom line, right? So many things that you can do, but we can only do that once everything is working, okay? So what did this look like for me and my wife? Well, this was us, simply buying a new garage ticker for the door, if you will, right? Because we had to press the button and go outside and move our car inside because we didn't have access to that, right? It's getting keys for the door, right? Getting extra keys to the door. So now we have an extra spare key in case we need our handyman to come in, right? Even doing some little things in the bathroom. So now we have more storage and stuff like that, just so that now we can feel a little bit more comfortable in the place that we're in, right? And there's a whole list of other things, but basically we wanted to make things just a little bit more easier for us to navigate through the house and a little bit more comfortable, make it feel a little bit more homey, if you will, right? And that's after we took care of the main things. And the third thing here, right, the third and last final point is I want you then to start focusing on the aesthetics, okay? So what do I mean by that? This is where you can start focusing on the website. And the previous step may include working on the website because you hire someone to actually work on that website for you, right? Also, in this step, this is you working on your marketing. So you may now focus on doing collaborations with other people, partnerships, right? Because now the things in our product or in our business is working. We also made it very easy and smooth for when those people come into our world, they feel fine. They feel like, hey, like this is the place that I should be, right? Now that we have that in motion, if you will, we now want to start to build these collaborations, right? This could also be you adding these cool features to your website, to your podcast episodes. This could even be you buying new technology, right? So sometimes people want to upgrade, whether it's the phones, the cameras, the mics, and all this other stuff that they use. Now you can do these things because those first two steps, it should have helped you to increase some of your profit, right? Something that I've learned, and man, it is a big lesson. It is cheaper to keep a customer than to find a new one. Someone that has already bought from you is more likely to buy from you again than a brand new customer. So that's why we want to make sure that when they come into your world, and this could even be with a brick and mortar business, so a restaurant like Outback Steakhouse, when someone walks into the door, we want to make sure that they feel comfortable, they feel fine, right? We can get them seated as quickly as possible, because once we've done that, they feel like, oh, maybe I should come back again, right? They feel like, hey, they took care of me, right? But if the building wasn't built, if the grills weren't working, if we didn't have staff there to cook, right? If even like the chip reader for your credit card wasn't working, then it wouldn't matter how nice it looked because it wasn't functional, right? So we want to make sure we get these pieces in place first, and then we start to focus on the aesthetics. This is where if you want to get, let's say, a logo, right? You could definitely do that in this stage. So in this piece, right, if you go through this path, and it's a very simple path, right, you start to see that the money that you make by accomplishing each step, you can invest it back into the business. But also, once you go through these three steps, it doesn't mean that you stop, because just like a home, there's always new projects that are waiting for you. So there's going to be something else that's going to need fixing, right? There's going to be something else that needs to be updated, right? It needs to be, let's say, made a little bit more easier to use. Maybe some of the bugs need to be worked out. And then, and we see this with a lot of places, the aesthetics, right? They always need to be updated. And we see this with Apple, Nike, Jordan. Like when I say those places, I mean their logos, right? If you ever looked at the Apple logo, or even like the Nike logo, even Gatorade, like these logos have changed over time, right? But they were able to do that because, well, the business was working, right? The customers they had were the right customers, right? All the little, like small little things, the foundation, it was there. And that's what we want to make sure that we're doing before we start focusing on the aesthetics, because that's where a lot of people tend to fail. They think, I'm not getting customers, so I just need to make my website prettier, right? Now, I could go into something about the copy and all that stuff, but that's not really what a lot of people mean. They think, oh, I just have to, get a better camera with a better lens, if you will. Well, if your message isn't reaching people, it doesn't matter how clear or what image or, how many features you have on the video, the podcast, or your picture. None of that stuff matters, right? So these are the 3 steps. If you were to follow them and then continue to follow them, you start to maximize the growth within your business. So to summarize, again, point number 1, start focusing on the things that don't work in your business. This is what I call getting under the hood of your business, just like as if it's a car. Second, focus on the things that will make your business easier to manage or more comfortable for you or your customers, okay? So once they know that the building is built and they can now walk inside, we want to make sure that they're being greeted very warmly, very nicely, and they're being told that they're in the right place if they're looking for X, right? If they're looking for a certain benefit. And then third and last, this is where you can focus on the aesthetics of things. So your brand, your website, all the little features and all this other stuff, right? Because you don't want to make it hard coming out the gate, but also you want to make sure that all the workings, if you will, they are good to go if someone were to come into your world. Because if someone were to walk into a restaurant, as pretty as it is, but the grill isn't working, then they're going to leave, right? They're not going to spend any money with you. So we want to make sure that we're following this process. So this is Coach Wells, and make sure you subscribe to this podcast for more information like this. All right, I'll see you later.